What's going on, everyone? My name is John. I'm a filmmaker slash creator and your host for Make Limited Podcast, where we talk about how to change our circumstances when life happens. In other words, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Today, we'll be talking about how to maintenance your life. So there comes a time in our lives when we have to maintenance things that we own. For example, a car, a house. Maybe we bought new shoes and we need to take care of them within our house. Let's say, for example, we have a pet. We got to take care of them. We got to maintenance them. So many things that we have in our lives that we take care of and that we need to look out for so that it can last longer. At least that's the idea. That's what we're talking about today. But we're not talking about material things that we own. Today we're talking about how to maintenance our own lives in a nice order that I want to talk to you in. And it's going to go like this. We're talking about the daily, the weekly, the monthly, and the yearly maintenance check. So, with no further ado, let's get into this podcast. Alright, guys, so for point number one, I want to talk about a daily check. This is something that is done on a daily basis. Take, for example, your house, right? There are things that you do on a daily basis to keep it clean, to keep it in order, to make sure that you don't have, dirty dishes, or you don't have trash all over the place, or maybe you have vacuumed or swept or whatever it is that you maintenance in cleaning your house. This is what daily check is about. Daily check is about cleaning your life on a daily basis, making sure that your life is in order, making sure that everything that you're doing is actually helping you maintain yourself. So there's three things that I want to go in this daily check. And number one is going to be meditation. Number two is going to be study. And number three is going to be application. So let's go into meditation. This is something that I encourage everyone to do. And, this may not be the meditation that mostly you think. It's meditation, I always encourage it to be done in the morning. Whether you wake up early or you don't, let it be the first thing that you do, because it's really going to elevate and encourage you every morning as you start. Think about it as your morning coffee without caffeine. That's what meditation is all about. And this is only to refresh your brain, really to wake up your brain, to get yourself at a point of state that you're going to have for the rest of the day. It's preparation for the day. Take it as you're going for a run. You need to warm up before you even start your stretch or your running. You need to get your body warm. You need to get it hot before anything. This is what meditation is. It is the the pre warm up before you actually go and stretch and run. And I say this a lot because this is something that I do in my daily workout. It helps me really not be sore the next day. It helps me not have injuries, and it helps me really stay focused on the work that I'm doing without thinking that I'm going to hurt my knee, that I'm going to hurt my ankle, that I'm going to hurt something, because I know that I prepared my body for what it was going to go through that day. And this is what meditation does. It prepares you for what you're going to do that day. And the one thing, if you're looking for an example, one example that I do every single morning is I give myself time to just have a moment of silence and just think about how I want myself. How do I want to be today? And I put that meditation into words. Do I want to be great today? I want to be excellent today. I want to 100% scratch off everything on my checklist. So I am productive. I am smart. I am wise in the decisions that I make today. And those are things that I fool myself in, and my not fool as in trick myself, but fool as in I fill up a cup. And this is what I'm doing this in the morning. Second thing I do is always, this is my own perspective on how I meditate. I pray. Well, it's one of the things that I do every morning for myself, for my own body medication. And of course, my brain is always the encouragement of the things that I can do. For my body is prayer. And then after I do all these things, I move into my second point, which is study. And this is what I do in the morning. It doesn't have to be something grand that you have to be studying. It can be anything with what you're interested in. So you can be, working on studying on a career, or you can right now be studying. You're in high school probably, and you're trying to see what you want to do in your life. That's something you can study. Another thing, maybe you're into woodworking, right? Maybe you're into cars. Maybe you're into architect. Maybe you're into, becoming a doctor, lawyer. Maybe you're into starting your own business. There's certain things that you can study in the morning that you can apply yourself to. One of the things that I do as my study, I read a book every morning, whether it be a chapter, 2 chapters, 3, 4, 5, as much as I can, and I try to see what I can get out of that book. And I try to, at the very end, write what I got out of that chapter. And I meditate on that for a while, because those are things that I'm going to apply either in my future, either in a couple of months, weeks, or maybe it's something that I'm preparing for next year. And these are things that I apply in my life as I'm studying. So it really gets me going to my goals, and that's why I do my studies in the morning. And it doesn't only have to be in the morning. It can be during the day. It can be at your best time to study this. This is just something that I do on a daily basis. So after my meditation, after my study, it's time to put your hands to work. And this is the third point, and is application. Application is when you put practice into perfect. And it's the most challenging part of the day, because you actually have to take your talk and work. So, when you tell yourself in the morning that you're wise, you're strong, you're smart, you're going to be productive, now it's time to take that faith that you have in yourself and apply it to what you're doing. And that right there is just so encouraging for me every single day, when I get to check off everything on my checklist and be like, boom, I was productive. Boom, I did the right decision. I made the right moves. I did it every single time. And this is why this is so important, okay? There's a principle that I go by in my life. And this principle comes from the Bible, of course. This principle is, if you are faithful in the little, you will be faithful in the big. Okay, and I'm paraphrasing, right? But what simply that means and that defines is that if you do something and you take it 100% in something that, maybe it's not as important, but it's something that you want to do, and it's something small at the moment, and you're faithful into that, right? When the time comes for you to be at another level, you're going to be faithful the same way you were in that small area, in that big area. And that's what really counts. That's how you prepare yourself to go into the next level. And this is so important because, it works in every area. And this is why I tell you, because look, one of the things I'm going to be talking about throughout this process is change. Change happens. Okay, change happens whether we like it or we don't. And the main thing that I say in almost every part of my podcast is, if you don't change, change will change you. And that simply is saying that if you don't grow in the areas that you need to grow in, that you are applying on a daily basis, or you are applying in time that you are in that moment, when your next level comes, you won't be prepared. And the scary thing about when change makes its own mind about what it's going to change into, the scary part is that we don't know what that is going to be. One, because we're not paying attention to that change. That's the main one. And two, we haven't assessed what that change could be if we don't do what we're supposed to do, right? And that moment of application that we want to be faithful in, so that in the bigger stuff when it comes, we'll know how to manage that area, because we manage ourselves in this small area here, so we're able to manage ourselves in a bigger area. And that's what simply application is about. It's preparation to apply what you're saying into action. That's what application is all about. And that is the daily check. Now let's move into weekly. Alright guys, so we are on the weekly point. Okay, this is my second point. And simply what weekly is, I call it weekly observation. That is point number 2, weekly observation. And this is simply, if you were to go to school, if you were to go anywhere, and you need to reach levels, even if you're doing a game, right? Something that is huge right now on YouTube is gaming. And gaming, there's always a level, right? And you always have to face like the biggest, baddest person in that level to get to the next level. Well, this is pretty much what weekly observation is, except you're not fighting the biggest, baddest person. You're actually looking at yourself, and you're, number one, you're evaluating, or it's evaluation time every week. So you're going to take either the first day that you start, or the last day that you start going into your other week, or the first day reviewing your last week, whichever one is you want to prefer. And what you do is you evaluate how you did that week. And this is part of my to-do list that I have actually, and I'm working on a to-do list that I've been making on with the calendar that really sets you to a point of productivity and elevation every week. This is what I do. I have a checklist. Every day I write down what I need to do that day, right? With my business, personal, and anything else that I'm doing for a client. I'm putting down what I need to do. Everything that I don't do, I put it for the next day, right? Because it's just the way that I work. And I make sure that if that day I was full, I wasn't able to complete that one record, that it goes on the next day as priority to finish. And all that causes is for me to just keep going, finish what I'm doing, so that I can move on to better and greater things. And that is the part of evaluation. And what you're evaluating is your productivity of how you did, and what you put aside, what you didn't. What is it that is holding you back in that week from finishing what you need to do? And it's just evaluating yourself and your character and your thinking process and your action process and your speech, right? Are you saying too much or putting too much on yourself that you're not completing what you're doing? Maybe you need to go back and give yourself less work so that you can accomplish, and then do that until you're available to move on to putting more load on yourself. Because the one thing you don't want to do is overstress yourself, overwork yourself, and have no break, have no ability to even catch up to your brain that is moving 100 miles per hour, even faster. And that is why evaluation every week is important. And you got to make sure that that is being maintenance. You got to make sure that that's being looked at, because if not, you will have like a breakdown. You will have a session where you just don't want to do anything anymore. You're discouraged, and that procrastination is something that just piles up and piles up and piles up. And by the time you turn around and you look at what you haven't done, you're going to be super stressed because now you have a bunch of work that you haven't done that you need to go back and do. And that plus what you're going to do in front of you is just overwhelming. That's why evaluation is always a great thing when you do it on a weekly basis, because you're evaluating what you do every day. Point number 2 is progression. This is why I do my calendar day and my checklist. And the reason why I do this is because what I do is I measure my check marks according to a percentage, right? And the percentage that I do it in is 100%. All checked is 100%. Whatever I don't check throughout the week, that is the percentage that I know how productive I am being in my day. And so if I have, 100%, and out of the 100% I was only able to do 30%, then my evaluation of that progression is telling me where I am lacking and where I'm not lacking. So I take those areas and I look at what am I not doing? What what am I not doing? Right? And I write those things down on the calendar that I have, on the things that I miss, my evaluation, and it tells me specifically what that week was about. My progression, right? How much did I progress from the last week? And I measure those things because that's how I'm able to really see how productive I'm doing, if I'm moving forward, if I'm gaining what I'm focused on, my goals, how close am I getting to it? Because as humans, I believe goals and achieving them is something that we need in our life as health. I think that if we ever stop working, if we ever stop, moving, applying to what we can do with our hands, we will cease to exist as as humans in this world. And as long as we keep on moving, we keep on pushing ourselves forward, it's the only way that we're going to be able to exist in this world. So, yes, having $1 million or like $100 million in your bank and doing nothing is literally just going to shorten your life that much more. So what I am telling you here, and that depends if you're not doing anything. Like if you decide I'm not going to do anything in my life, I'm just going to live out of this $100 million, well, your life will be real short and really enjoying that process. So I really encourage you on a weekly basis, on a weekly observation, progression is super important to see how you're going on your goals. So we talked about weekly observations, elevation, and progression. Now we're going to go into our monthlies. So I'm super excited for this one because I'm telling you it's going to be super, super helpful. All right, guys, we are on point number 3. Point number 3 is monthly tuning. This is something that I believe we all need in our lives. And the reason why I say is because what I'm about to talk to you is going to be so powerful that you're going to want to listen right now. So, number 1, make sure you're writing down, or if you're listening to this, make sure you're imprinting in your mind monthly tuning. Okay, so there are stuff that in my home I do monthly. So when I am about to, like, say for example, some of the things that I do is for monthly tuning is clean the garage. Make sure the garage is clean monthly. So whatever I need to do in there and move things around, change the whole system so that it can work. I actually have a log on there to see what I need to move or what I need to change and see how it's going actually. And the point of this is to, what I'm about to tell you, which is the main point number 1, and it's the only point for this one, is review possibilities of instituting change if necessary. This is why I do this whole possible, logging and the garage once a month. Why? because it's something that it's an overall look of what's going on. Because one of the things that I do in my garage is woodworking, right? I do a lot of woodworking, but as well, I, put in my car, right? It's also a place that I do exercise in. It's also a place that I have storage, that I store stuff in. And so it works as multiple things that need to be looked at if something's going wrong, right? And if there's spider webs, if there's, insects, so maybe there's some animals from outside that want to come inside, I need to keep everything clean and looked out so that it doesn't build up monthly. And this is why I do it, because it's not something that I need to go in there on a daily basis and check. It's not something I need to do weekly. It's something that monthly it works. Why? Because in that month you are doing all the work, and if you go there and every single time try to work on it, you're going to overwhelm yourself because you have other stuff that you need to do during that day or that week. And so monthly is for an overall view of that month. That's why we review the possibility of instituting change if necessary. So this is something you go back and you review. You review your daily checks, you review your weekly observations, and you see what's going on. You know, am I having things that are sneaking in? Am I having, like, of course, as a metaphor, spider webs that are being built? Is there something that wants to come in my life? Is there clutter? Is there room to do what you need to do? And this is why you need to think about, when you're doing a monthly tuning in your life, to institute change if necessary. What needs to change? Do you need to bring in something in your life to push the thing away? Do you need to take things out of your life? Do you need to finish projects that you haven't finished? Because I can tell you, when you have a project that is woodwork, that is a big project, it can get messy. Why? Because, say for example, there's rain, there's freezing, and you have your vehicle outside. You want to put it inside so you can take care of it. But if you don't, when you go to work, it's going to be a little cold and it might be frozen. So this is some of the things why it's important to keep our area clean, keep our area looking out for things that we don't need in our lives. For example, toxic people, right? We don't need toxic people in our life. We don't need negative people in our life. We don't need just bad vibes in our lives. Why? Because it's poison to our lives. It makes us. I don't know if you ever heard this one saying, but bad character corrupts good character. And the thing with that is that the more you hang out with things, the more you let things linger in your life that are negative, the more they're gonna change you into that negative thing that you don't want in your life. Say for example, when you talk to people who just every time in their life speak negative, or the more you hang out with them, the more you're going to start speaking like them, and the more you're going to start acting like them. Every little thing is going to be negative, negative, negative. Now if you start hanging out with people who are more positive, people who are smarter, you're going to have those challenges of being positive, of being smarter. And that's what's going to be amazing for our lives, to really keep moving forward. And that's the beautiful thing when it comes to evaluating our lives and really instituting change if necessary. Is there something that we don't need in our lives? And that's monthly tuning. I mean, because we communicate with people, we communicate with ourselves, we have family members, we have friends, and we need to see what's going on in that area. Not only that, but in our personal life, our goals. Are we setting goals that are not intact with our main focus, with our main goal? And are we putting too much on our plate that we're not finishing enough? One of the things that I learned from history is that, from The Art of War, I don't know if you read that book, but The Art of War talks about this specific topic where it talks about the army. If the army is spread out in different areas, too much areas, that it thins out the army, it makes the army weak. But if the army focuses on maybe two or one area, it makes the army stronger. Why? Because it's more together than apart. So the more apart you are in something, yes, you may seem like you're doing a lot of things, but the more weaker you're becoming and spreading yourself out and becoming thin. And that's only going to cause a breakdown or stress. So it's better off to make sure that you are focused on what you need to do, first of all, and everything that is aside of it, add into it, right? Because it's going to push you towards that direction that you want, and that's why it's super important to do a monthly tuning to review the possibility of instituting change if necessary. All right, guys, so if you are here right now, you have reached the year check. This is something that the overall of every month in the year, every week in a year, and every day in a year, you are doing a year check. And the best simile or metaphor that I can tell you with this is the outside of your house maintenance. This is stuff that you look around your house and you see what needs fixing, what needs to be done, that over the year process is something that you look at, right? So for example, roof, sidings, foundation, maybe you need to check the sidewalks, if there's any cracks, maybe in your garden, if there need to be any updates. This is something that they're very more of an expense, but they're particularly focused on just your outer self, so this is evaluating what I like to say surrounding maintenance check. And this is stuff that you look around yourself. How have you grown this year? Physically, how is your body? Checking your body. If your body is fine, is your body getting too much stress? Is your body at a good point of life, that you've been healthy, you've been exercising, you've been feeding your body good? How are you mentally? Are you doing great? Are you in a process, a state of mind that is good? And all of this comes hand in hand. How is your surroundings? How are the people around you? Are they doing better because you are there? Are they doing better because you are a part of their lives? This is something that I look every day, not every day, but every year in my life. When I look back at that year, what did I do? How was I beneficial to someone else? Because that's what I want to take into the following year. I want to take those things. If there's things that I missed that year, I want to make sure that I am actually focusing that next year. That maybe I didn't give more time to, let's say for example, my family, or I didn't give enough time for my friends, to really grow that relationship. There's some things that maybe I need to work a little bit more on my business. Maybe I need to work a little bit more on my goals and accomplishing them, because I was too much on, just enjoying, my whole, life by going out every Friday, by just going out every night with the boys and doing stuff, whatever the cause may be. The point is that you are maintenance checking, or checking your surrounding, making sure that everything that you're doing is at a balance. It's at a point where you are working, you are doing great, and you are balanced in every area. Because if there's something unbalanced, you're going to be off on something and neglecting something else. And that in itself can have consequences. So that's why one of the things that I do is I check myself yearly. And this is something, again, on my calendar that I do. And this is so simple to do within my calendar, because you look at the percentages that you've done a year, and you're able to see how you've been growing in a graph per se. And in that graph, you actually see how in the year process, how your productiveness was. And in turn, you can see how that productiveness affected others around you. you know, and how you spend time with your family, how you were able to manage your life that year, what was your growth, what what was your weaknesses, and what were your strengths. And this is something that I do because for me, that is what motivates me every single day. That is what keeps me going every year, every month, every week, daily, because I know where I'm at. I know where I stand. And this is, you can base yourself off data, but the point is that you're seeing who you are and how you do things and how you work. And this is to know yourself as a human, know yourself as a person, so that you can be a better human. And this is why I do it. This is why my process is. And the reason why this all started again was because of that one time that I had a heart attack. This was an evaluation through the years of seeing myself and trying to overcome like this mentality of thinking negatively about myself, because it's something that hit me and I thought that I was super strong, and then I was like, whoa, I'm not in control of my life. What do I do? And so in the process of creating this system that has been working for me and keeping me going, is a system that really encourages you to push yourself forward. Now, it is also, in the pros and the cons, I have to say this is a disclaimer, right? That, again, if you don't proceed with this system and you become, a procrastinator within the system, again, yes, anything I believe can give you stress, anything can overwhelm you. But the point of this is to see where you are at and that you can track that in the process, just like you track on fitness when you're eating, when you're tracking your calories and you have it on your watch. This is exactly what this does. This helps us as humans be better humans, not only in our lives but the people around us, for our loved ones. This helps us move forward to be better humans. And that's why I share this information, because I know it's super helpful for everyone out there in making you be a better human. Alright, guys, so you have reached the end of today's podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so glad that you were here to get motivated and encouraged to be better humans. Again, we are here every Tuesday, so don't forget to tune in on those days and share it with your friend and families. Today we talked about managing our life, and we went over the daily checks, we went over the weekly observations, the monthly tunings, and yearly check. This is super important to just be better humans in an overall area as we are in our world, right? So on the daily check, make sure that you do your meditation. Make sure that in those meditation is something that gets you forward mentally. Again, study is something for you to move forward into what your goals are overall. And the application is the practice makes perfect. So the more you practice it, the more perfect you will be in that area. And number 2, we went to weekly observations, which we talked about elevation and progression. And pretty much that is to elevate your week on how evaluate your week on how your daily bases are going, and then to see the progression of your growth. If there's something that is keeping you from that growing, and it's to easily define what that is so that you can move forward and be more productive. Number 3 was monthly tuning. So review possibilities of instituting change if necessary. So if there's something that you need to change in your life, this is where you see it on a monthly tune-ins, okay? And the last thing we talked about was yearly check. This is pretty much surrounding maintenance check. So this is your ripple. How have you affected those around you? And have you encouraged them, or have you been a discouragement to them? And this is where you see it, so that you, on your next year process, you can institute that and be a priority to focus on that for that next year. So this is what we talked about today. We talked about maintaining your life. Make sure that you are keeping yourself maintenance so that you can be a better human in your world, in your life, and in the life of others. So that is all for today. I'm your host, John, and we'll be talking to you next time. Peace.